Live. With me, Mo, the unpolitician, joined by my co-host Lin Su and Bill Reicherter. Say hi again, folks. Hi to America.
Hi again.
All right, so we're gonna again before we jump into it. If you are liking the content, which I'm sure you are, please don't forget to like, click, subscribe, follow us on Facebook. It is Political Pulse Live. On YouTube, it is at, don't forget the at symbol, at Political Pulse Live. And if you're on Twitter, it is Political Pulse 2. So we're going to go ahead and pick up where we were in the last show, continuing conversation with our special guest, Elon Gerberg. And I'm going to turn it over to my co-host here, and they're going to introduce him and then the continuation process on this.
All right.
Let's bring Elon on.
Hi, Elon.
Hey, guys.
Hey again. Thanks for coming on again. So, last time I think we left off where we found your passion, like what happened. It's all about your children. And in this episode, we wanted to talk to you about like what's it been like on, the whole advocacy, right? So, Bill, you want to take it away?
Yeah, well, before we get started on that, to lead into it, I put a post on Facebook not long ago. In Chicago, there's a private school, right, that has, I guess he's a dean at the private school, and he was bringing transgender people to the school, and then he was bringing sex toys, and he was letting the kids actually play with sex toys in class, underage kids. Things that if we would have taken those same toys and brought it to a park and gathered a bunch of kids around us to play with, we'd go to jail, right? Yet this dean is making that an educational part of his educational curriculum. So it's just amazing, and that's why it's so important what you're doing, Elon. The fathers, the mothers too, but we got to step up and we got to stop this from happening in our schools, because it's a crime what they're doing to these kids, the indoctrination, right? And they're taking away the innocence of our children at a young age, and they're putting them in a mindset that they don't even know who they are, what they're doing, anymore. It's insane. But anyway, a couple of weeks ago, you had a rally in Fort Lauderdale, and I want to talk about that. And I'll let you take over. And we have some video footage from the rally, but it's a very interesting dynamic of what's going on in this world today.
So what sparked the rally? What made? Because I saw flyers promoting this thing from a while back, and obviously if I was there, I would have definitely been there. But so what sparked the idea for the rally?
Honestly, it started on Father's Day. I typically will go with my daughter and we'll go to Target and I'll allow her to pick out a gift for me. It's like I buy it, but it's like she's picking it out.
As long as it's not a tie.
Yeah.
Just so you know, that doesn't stop when they get in their 20s.
But what I noticed was, and I don't think it's an accident. Father's Day is during the same month as Pride Month. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so when I walked into the store, it was rainbows everywhere, gay here, gay there. And literally, I don't mind that. That's fine. But there was not one small baby little kiosk associated with dads.
Wow.
And I think to myself, how important are fathers in our children's lives? The very reason I started Florida Fathers for Freedom. You see so much kids who have gotten in trouble and have gone down the wrong path. And a lot of it is because they do not have a positive father figure at home, really holding them accountable and showing our boys in particular what it is to be an upstanding citizen, what it is to be a good human being. And it just saddened me that, it's not a priority in our society anymore. It is no longer we no longer emphasize the importance of fatherhood in our children's lives. And so, it saddened me. And I thought to myself, this is seeping in everywhere. Mm-hmm. Our children, we all want them to be inclusive. I've always taught my children, treat everybody the way that you want to be treated. Love everybody the same, right? But it goes beyond when I have to explain to my 5-year-old what gay is or what queer is. And it's just, it's right in their eyesight. And it's like, you know, I will discuss that with my children when I believe they're mature enough to have that conversation, but it is not, you know, something that should be pushed on them, especially without the parents present. It
Exactly.
really just set me off because it's just one example of this, you know, sexualization of our children that's coming at them in every direction of their lives, whether it be in the apps that they use on their phones, whether it be in the music that they're listening to, whether it be in the entertainment that they watch, whether it be in their schools, and it's all done under the guise of tolerance and
Mm-hmm.
acceptance. And I'm of the opinion that our children are already tolerant. They're
Mm-hmm.
already accepting everyone.
Yep.
Mhm.
And we want that of our children. What we don't want is, you know, for example, I grew up watching Nickelodeon. No, my parents never had to watch what I was watching. I was in
Mm.
good hands. Now, if you go on Nickelodeon, you know, there's a trans man talking about all the colors in the flag and how exciting it is. And it's like, okay, if that was a one off, that's fine. Now, couple that with Little Nas X, for example, okay? He had this song, Old Town Road, okay? It became a hit. My kids love it. Kids across the nation love it. Lil Nas X was going from school to school to school performing it. He was even writing children's books. His next hit is him. You know, you get the children to subscribe. They all like him. They're following him
Mm-hmm.
on their
Parents.
phone.
Yep.
And next thing you know, his next song is him fully naked. He's lap dancing on the devil. It's totally sexualized.
Yep.
Wow.
And
Never heard of
there's
that guy.
one thing to be understanding of other people, and it's another thing to have sexual conversations and sexual imagery that our children are simply not mature enough to have. And then you take it a step further, this whole radical gender ideology starts coming into the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no longer, you know, it's very scary, right? Because it's like schools are what they say are a safe place.
Mhm.
Okay. So they may keep secrets from parents that are entrusting these schools to teach them to be educated in reading, writing, math, science, and history.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a majority of parents signed up for. And
Yep.
unfortunately, less than 40% of our children can do that proficiently for their grade. And the focus, instead of being exactly on the main reason why parents are sending their kids to school, has diverted into this radical ideology. Whereas if a child, let's say a boy, picks up a doll, all of a sudden it could be a teacher who comes up to them and say, hey, you know, if you ever considered, you know, gender is just how you feel inside, you know, and that's how it starts. And
Mm-hmm.
people use the term grooming, and that is a main item that's come up, and it is like it's a derogatory term, but it isn't. When we say grooming, we are talking about preparing kids, starting to sort of train them to be sexualized. So it starts with, hey, I noticed you picked up a doll,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Little Boy. And then it quickly goes to, hey, have you ever considered that you're not actually a boy inside? Maybe you're trapped in the wrong body. And it goes to a whole nother level of, instead of being there for our kids and allowing them to just find themselves, tomboys, for example, totally normal. There are feminine boys, there are masculine girls, and that is fine. And we are tolerant of that, and we let them be and find themselves. But unfortunately, we've gotten to the point in society where now we are these kids are very impressionable, and we're pushing on them these ideologies that maybe they're trapped in the wrong body, which leads to self-hate, which leads to thinking that your body is not what you're supposed to be in,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole slew of other things. So to answer your question, and I know it's sort of long-winded, I decided enough was enough. This is a direct attack on our children.
Mhm.
And when I started to speak out against it, I automatically felt a lot of the same tactics that I was receiving when I was speaking out against the mask mandates. It's an emotional tactic where they say, you're killing grandma if you don't want your kid to wear a mask. Well, no, I'm not. I'm really just focused on, I'm concerned about the well-being of my child and the emotional and educational development of my child. So it's the same thing when you show this concern for the sexualization of your child, all of a sudden it's like, well, you're against transgender people or you're against gay people. And it could not be farther from the truth. And we held the rally, the Protect the Children rally on December 3rd, in conjunction with Gays Against Groomers, which is a very prolific, predominantly gay, all gay, lesbian, and trans group who stood in solidarity with us to say, let the kids be kids, leave the kids alone, and let them find themselves. And the world went absolutely nuts because when you kill that narrative of having gays, trans people, and lesbians stand beside you with the same message, that whole gaslighting is killed. It's done. The narrative has been obliterated. And that was really what we set out to do on December 3rd.
You guys did a
So
phenomenal job.
let's watch a little clip.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Ooh, where's the volume? Let me go back.
You cannot teach kids to be gay or trans. But you can. Exactly. Don't do it. You can groom them to be haters. And that's what they're doing. Don't stop grooming children. They're trying to have a conversation. No, he's not right. What I'm trying to explain to you is what they're doing is they're trying to create an impressionable kid. And they're saying, listen, I know that you picked up a doll. Okay, let me finish. I noticed that you picked up a doll. Maybe have you ever thought about that you may actually be a protector? You know, there's all kinds of things. These kids are very impressionable. Come on. And then after they go from there, next thing you know is, listen, instead of giving them, if they suffer from gender dysphoria, instead of giving them the help they need, suddenly, let's take you to a doctor. You know, you shouldn't be trapped in a foreign body. And then it's people, if they don't change themselves, if they don't castrate themselves, then they might kill themselves. And this is something that cannot be Father's Day, I can't even go to pick out a gift for my kid. Can't even pick that up. What do you ask about that during Father's Day? It's private. Why do I need to talk about
Well, I'm going to turn off the volume for this one and then have you.
Yeah, I can speak on it. So essentially, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the mayor, Dean Trinalis, he had came over and basically he had said, you know, he had come over because he was upset that we were using the word grooming, and that grooming has a negative connotation towards, you know, gay people. And that is really what this was about, was an attack on gay people and marginalizing gay people and trying to make them invisible. And, you know, what I was explaining to him, and I know it was a little bit hard to hear, was that we were actually here with other gay people. There was several gay people that were standing right next to me, and that just couldn't be farther from the truth. And I know Mayor Dean, he is gay, but, you know, he was so drawn to this word grooming. And what we were explaining to him is anybody can be a groomer. It does not just lend itself to the LGBTQ community. And it's being used as a way to, you know, shut parents down and shut up. But we don't want anybody sexualizing our children. We don't want that coming from, you know, straight people, gay people. It doesn't really matter. There are conversations that are to be had when parents are present and with their consent. And what I explained to him, Mayor Dean, is that we send our kids to learn how to read and write. And what he said, and there's a clearer clip I could have sent to you, but he basically said it is the parents' fault that they send their children unprepared to school, not knowing about these topics, and they're polarized when they get there. And what I explained to him was that is your prerogative. That is what maybe you want for your children, but for me, I send my children to learn to read, write, and do math. And if I want to have a conversation with my children about, different sexual orientations or who you're attracted to, that's for me.
Yeah, I agree with you because first of all, you don't even know what's the teacher that's talking about this. You don't even know what's in their mind for real. You could have a pedophile talking to your child, right? I mean,
Yep.
what kind of teacher, first of all, wants to have those conversations with other people's kids?
Well, we've seen those in the school already, where the teachers, those types of teachers, are having conversations with the kids. So
Yeah,
it's not, it's not foreign.
And this is what we're worried about, right? This is how predatory behavior starts, is when they start keeping secrets from parents and not telling them what's going on. This video right here, that's conservative Anthony. He is an openly gay man. He went across the street to have a conversation with these counter protesters. So because of the exposure we got, there was a lot of counter protests that were planned. And he went to try to speak with them, and they wouldn't listen to anything he had to say.
and he, like you said, and he's an openly gay man. So
There's a woman yelling Nazi in the back.
He went to try to speak to him, and this woman is basically just saying, "You're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. We don't talk to Nazis." And it was totally shut down. And he's basically saying, "You can't have a conversation." And when he went back, he said, "There's a beautiful trans woman over there. If turn this volume up, look how they act. It's
You have to turn it
She
up.
was shouting, "You're not gay. You're not gay."
Well, she said you're a Nazi.
Oh, you're a Nazi.
Yeah. You didn't even have to turn it up. I can read her lips.
So it's basically we are standing there with gay people, and they're trying to say, that we're having an anti-gay rally, but we're literally standing there with gay people hand in hand, basically saying, we do not want you having these conversations with our kids. We certainly do not want you telling them that they're born in the wrong body. And many a times, these kids are being told that the only answer is to take unproven puberty blocking drugs that have terrible detriments, osteoporosis, bone damage, literally stopping the development of a human healthy body. And then furthermore, telling them that the best thing to potentially do is to cut off your healthy breasts or to cut off your penis. And these surgeries, Scott Nugent is a great, if you ever see What is a Woman, Scott Nugent, who is somebody I've grown very, very close with, but Matt Walsh put out a great documentary on this, and he simply just asked, what is a woman? And Scott Nugent is basically saying, he went through this, and it has a over 60% complication rate. Many of these children can no longer urinate correctly, right? So what is being told to a lot of parents is if you don't have these surgeries, these kids may kill themselves. But what they don't tell you is what happens if they do the surgeries? What happens with the complications when they no longer have a normal functioning body? What happens at a young age when they change their mindset and they realize that they aren't trapped in the wrong body, but they can't ever go back, and they entrusted doctors, parents, and teachers to help guide them, and they were misguided. And that is what we're out here standing against.
And when did all this become a deal? I don't even remember. Like, it just popped up one day, and now it's a huge social issue. I mean, when did the world turn? I think I missed that day.
Somewhere around
to be honest, that's what I
I
definitely think that it's a smoke screen. They're trying to bring this in to distract us from all the other things that, and it's important enough for us to pay attention to.
It's not only that, and I know we're running out of time, but you have to, one thing I've learned is you have to follow the money.
Yep.
Follow the money, and you will make sense of the unsensible. right? When it
Yep.
came
Like
to
Vanderbilt
COVID,
Hospital, right?
when it came to COVID, it was the same. And you heard rumors that people who were put on, ventilators were automatically given $30,000 COVID deaths. And I'm not trying to be, a crazy conspiracy theorist, but you ask yourself, well, why are these mandates being placed into place when they don't stop the transmission and it doesn't stop you from getting it?
Yep.
It's the same thing with these kids. They have dollar signs on their head for the first time in history. A marginalized group
Mm-hmm.
has a dollar on their head.
Yep.
$70,000 a pop to have these gender affirming surgeries. Once they get their money, they
They're
don't care what
done.
happens to these kids. They don't care what the future problems are. They already have the money.
Yep.
But to convince them that it's the only way, the only reason it makes sense to butcher a young child that suffer from gender dysphoria rather than giving them the mental help that they so desperately need is money.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
All right, so
definitely. I agree
so
with that
no,
because oh, I'm sorry. I think we got to wrap up. But what I
no,
was gonna say was
go
it's
ahead.
absolutely I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so go ahead, Mo.
I was gonna say, listen, we got between now and the next show for you to regain that thought process, okay? Because again, this is very near and dear to all of us. We're all passionate about this subject. We all want to dive as deep as possible into it. So please regain that train of thought. We're going to ask him on the next episode. So Elon, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. I've got some questions myself I got to ask you. I got one in particular. So until the next time we meet, America, don't forget to follow us on Political Pulse Live on Facebook. On YouTube, don't forget the @ symbol is @Political Pulse Live, and on Twitter, Political Pulse Live. I'm sorry, Political Pulse 2. So until then, the next time, America, you guys have a great night.
All right. See